Next on the list is a new one
category
that we added literally yesterday or today, which is titled Best Mechanics, which we've put in because we noticed a couple of times there are games that do do things.
Yeah.
They have mechanics within them that are very unique and very special that don't shine in other categories.
The thing that really pushed me for this was, like, I was thinking, like, we're not going to do it, but I was thinking, like, games of the decade, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's 2020. And I was like, okay, one of my favorite games of the last 10 years was XCOM 2.
Yeah.
And it's not going to fit in any of these categories.
No, yeah, but it is still, it's a thing that's all
that
mechanical.
Game is all mechanics, so there needs to be something in there. So this is going to be a kind of a loose category of, like, kind of hard to describe. We'll kind of describe exactly the bit that we're picking out, really, but it is generally, like, it's not just, it's more specific than gameplay.
Yeah, there are specific mechanics that we want to talk about, but they work in a gameplay whole that is...
Yeah, totally. So
we have...
Yeah.
The Outer Wilds, which I'm guessing is the time loop stuff, is that...
We'll get into it,
Okay, sure. Outer Wilds, John Wick Hex, Baba Is You, Wilmot's Warehouse, Disco Elysium, Devil May Cry 5, My Friend Pedro.
Yeah.
So Outer Wilds, is that time loop stuff?
Outer Wilds is, like, kind of that whole game, because it's not just... Mechanics is a weird way of describing it, but, like, yes, the whole, like, 22-minute loop thing is kind of the core of it, which is, like... as an idea is super interesting, but, like, every part of that game feels like something that shouldn't be possible. Like, so there was a really good article. I love reading articles, and I send you them every now and then, of, like, or even tweets of, like, here's this weird technical thing we had to do to get this to work properly.
I like reading those.
So jumping in Outer Wilds is one of them, where when you jump, your character doesn't move, the world moves. Because it was the only way technically they could get the jumping to work properly in all situations that you need to be able to do it.
Okay.
Like, it's that level of thing. So, like, yes, there's the 22-minute loop, but there's the fact that, like, the 22-minute loop is, like, a core part of the narrative.
Yeah. And
also, like, it's a core part of the narrative. It directly affects, like, what parts of... You have to be in specific places at specific times to get right. And also, like, there are just other bits of mechanics of, like... The fact that they don't explain anything to you, and you just have to have the knowledge on how stuff works.
Yeah.
So there's a specific part of that game which is, like, I suppose we're getting into spoiler territory here. So there's a whole section of that game which talks about quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
Right? So, and you get to a point near the end game which is like, in order for you to be able to do the thing you need to do, you need to know the 3 rules we've established for quantum...
For the quantum mechanics of
works,
the world, yeah.
Right? You need to know that, like, you can move by being a part of, or by touching the quantum thing.
Yeah.
Photos are as good as looking at things in terms of quantum, and I can't remember what the third one is, but you need to learn these things in order to be able to do it, and, like, it's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, it's all obvious if you know what to look at, but the fact that, like, you're getting this knowledge... and I think that's the other big mechanic, is the loop, and it's the way that game works, where, like, the thing that people are saying isn't 100% true. Now that I know what the end game is, so I should say I haven't finished it, but I know the final thing. I could start a new game and immediately go and do it.
Yeah,
because
I've heard that before.
The only thing you've got is knowledge of where things are, how things work.
Yeah.
And the knowledge of all of that kind of stuff. So you can start a new game and finish that game in one go. In fact, there's an achievement for it.
Yeah.
And that is so, like, a game that entirely relies on you entirely encapsulating all of this knowledge and going, what the fuck is actually happening here?
Yeah.
And then tying that to the system on your ship of, like, the only thing that survives the 22-minute loop is knowledge, and, like, the tree of knowledge that you've built up at this point.
Yeah.
And it'd be so easy for that game to not have that and just be like, nah, fucking you figure it out with notebooks.
Yeah.
The fact it gives you that thing of, like, here's how this thing links to this thing. There's something here you haven't found yet. There's a whole extra, like,
and that ties back in narratively,
and that's the bare minimum that it needs to be able to make that game workable. And it's just, it's mechanically glorious. That game, it really is just astounding. And, like, the Ember Twins, or the twin planets, where, like, the sand from one planet is being sucked into the other planet, and it fills one up and
Yeah.
And all of Giant's... Oh, God, yeah, it's thick with mechanics, that game, with 2 C's.
John Wick Hex, the main mechanic of that game is the timeline.
Yeah.
Where everything that happens is turn-based. Well, not kind of turn-based, but not really.
Yeah.
Everything happens on a progression of time, where every action takes a certain amount of time, and every enemy that comes in gets their own timeline that interacts with yours.
Yep.
Where you can see if that enemy is going to, like, say, walk out of a door and shoot you, you know how long that's going to take, and you therefore know how long you have to react to it. So you can then say, well, this is going to take 0.8 of a second, but I can roll in 0.6 of a second and get out of the way into a safe area. It then leads into this amazing sort of like dance that this game does, where it's all these people interacting with each other just over a timeline.
Yeah.
And you're having to worry about multiple people doing multiple things all at once, but it never really gets all overwhelming.
No.
Because it's really visual and really obvious, because they do it in blocks.
The thing that astounded me about that was, like, games have been trying to solve that problem for a long time, where, like, you look at, like licensed games for, like, any action movie or like any of that kind of stuff, where, like, it's trying to emulate, or even just like general action games, the ways that games try and emulate, like, the Hollywood precedents that people have, like that your main characters have in those things of, like, they know they're about to be shot and can dodge out the road.
Yeah.
Like, every game so far that's trying to do that has had some kind of like, it's slow down, or it's like a flash of inspiration, like a red thing off to the side, you know something's getting shot and all that kind of stuff. This does exactly that, but it does it in, like, this super methodical visual way of,
really
like,
clean.
You're gonna get shot in a half second, and you can get out of that if you play this right. Like, the fact that the solution to that problem is not, like, cool graphics or action, it's like, here's fucking Adobe Premiere, right? Like, let's sort it via this.
It all feeds into the general feeling of that game, where that game is the most thing where it is like a mechanic lets you feel like a character.
Totally.
Where that timeline, because you have all the information and you can do all this stuff based on that information that timeline gives you, you feel a lot like John Wick.
Yep,
and
entirely.
It is, because you know exactly that I'm going to get shot from the back in 0.5 of a second, so I can push this guy into the wall, take him down before that guy comes around the corner. I can then take him out, steal his pistol, shoot him.
And even like the affordances it gives you, where, like, we talked about it when we did the video for it, but, like, the problem with a lot of other turn-based games is, like, you have to be so cautious, because if somebody comes, if a surprise happens at any point, you're just fucked. Like, the amount of missions I've lost in, like, XCOMs and stuff like that, where, like, why you ran? Yeah. Like, you ran to a point and suddenly you're being flanked and you're just dead. Yeah. Like, the fact that it goes like, no, like, if something new appears, like, we're going to stop everything and let you do it.
Reset timeline.
As you would, as opposed to being like, nah, you've committed. Like, you're
I'm running
now.
over there inside those 3 people.
It's such a smart...
It's a really clever mechanical system that is also... It seems so obvious and so simple.
You look at it, why
is nobody just giving you a visual representation of time?
And also coming from, like, Bithell Studios, who are at this point known for, like, what are essentially, like, visual novels and a platformer that did exceptionally well. Like, for them to make that turn and being like, let's not look at this like an action game, let's look at this like a fucking audio like a strategy software.
Like, it's
very cool.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Baba Is You. There's nothing like Baba Is You.
No, and, like, it's the slow realization of the power that this thing has.
That video that we recorded of Baba Is You is one of the weirdest moments, and, like, I've had people, like, message me before being like, that video is really good, because you can just tell that your mind breaks.
Yes.
Like, it is the experience of playing that thing for the first time is you suddenly going, wait a minute, totally. Like, that's so everything can be anything. And,
totally. Like, it's one of the early levels where, like, it's exceptionally hard to explain in words, so watch the video. But like, the fact that you can change the thing that you directly control away from Baba to being something else. Yeah. And it's like, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like when you change it to be River Is You, and you're just moving this river
it was in the video. It was when I changed it to be like Wall Is You, and you take control of a whole building.
Yeah, and you're just like moving this building, and you're like, oh wait, this breaks every part of
suddenly
my head.
Everything is out of the window.
And it does get, I will say though, like, it does get, confusing's the wrong word, but either doesn't it. My experience in that game is that I either missed the lesson it was trying to teach me, or some of its internal rules don't gel with what's in my head. Where once they start adding the and, where like something and something is something,
right?
It felt like those rules are not consistent enough. Where like sometimes you'll push two things together and I'll go nah. And you're like, I don't know why you're not letting me do this. Sure. This feels like a thing you should let me do.
Yeah.
Like, it makes logical and grammatical sense. Like, why is it not
Why does it not happen? Yeah.
But yeah.
Wilmot's Warehouse, that game is all mechanics. And it's a mechanic you make up. It's a mechanic that you make up in your own head.
Totally. Like, the idea, like, again, like, watching that, doing that video with you of, like, here's my immaculately organized warehouse. You going, why the fuck are they there? Yeah. Why would you
that was another thing people messaged me about and were like, you sounded legitimately angry when you were recording that video. And I was like, yeah, I was. He was like being fucking stupid.
Yeah, like, why would you put the parasols next to the other triangular things? It's like, because it's triangular.
It's an organization game where the organization is entirely in your own head.
Totally.
And if you've ever done retail, and you've ever worked with people in that sort of situation, that never works when you're trying to explain it to other people. No. But it's internally consistent, and that's all that matters when you're playing. I couldn't play that game 2-player like at all.
No, I've tried.
But when you play it singular, it suddenly becomes this amazing thing of like, this person wants 6 of those waves. Like, where did I put the waves? The waves are with the rest of the beach stuff.
Yeah,
just down in the bottom left. And it's a game where...
Oh no, shit, I realised, no it's not, it's next to all the boat stuff.
Yeah, because waves, and
you're just
so it's... The game, to a certain extent, ends up playing with your own head, and it's a weird mechanic, but it is a cool mechanic.
It's also, like, the fact that there are... Because I went into the code, well, not the code, I looked into the asset files, there are 500 items in that game.
Oh god.
So, like, so I played... There was my game, I tried a 2-player game, and then I did a new game with you for the video.
Yeah.
And like there were a lot of items in there I did not see again
in any of the other
games. So there's a lot in there that you can be like, fucking organize this, fuckers. Like, where are you going to put cricket when you've got nothing that's related to any of that?
Figure this cricket back
There's
out.
A circle. Put it with the circles that we find.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that. Disco Elysium, I assume this is the internal monologue system, right?
It's kind of the internal monologue system and how that ties into skills, because this is like, it's a proper, not revolution, but is an entirely new way of thinking about RPG skill systems.
Totally, yeah.
That I want more people to use.
Yes.
Because it is genius, where it is, all of your skills are different facets of your own mind, where and the different facets of your own mind will sit and talk to you as you're doing stuff in the world, but they only talk to you about stuff that is relevant to them, and they will only talk to you if they pass the skill check.
Yeah.
So the character I played was very high intelligence and not very physical. So his physical body didn't talk a lot.
Yeah.
But it talked up enough where the things that it did know about, like electrochemistry, so he's smart, so he understands drugs. It talked up enough in the right situations to be able to go, I can still see where this is going.
Totally.
But then most of the conversation was dominated by your intelligent mind.
Yep.
So it was a lot of logic, a lot of rhetoric, a lot of... So you could play that game in entirely different ways, and have completely different conversations.
There must be so much dialogue in that game that neither of us are going to see.
Absolutely,
because I'm not playing an intelligent character. I'm playing a empathetic character. So like I'm doing emotional intelligence, which also, like, as I'm assuming the pure intelligence one does, like, has fucked me.
Oh yeah,
like,
totally,
completely. Where like, so there's an opening, one of the opening sections. In fact, it's the very opening section where you leave your hotel room horrendously hungover.
Yeah.
And there's the woman out there that you have your first conversation with. Because my emotional intelligence was so high, I get backed into a corner about basically trying to chat her up.
Oh right, yeah.
And I couldn't escape it because it was like, your emotional intelligence leads you down this road, and then suddenly fucking cul-de-sacs you and going, so here's the next sentence you have to say.
It's the thing that the system does really well as well, where when you start listening to the part of your brain, it does a very human thing where, because you're listening to your own head, it sounds like the right thing to do.
Totally.
And you're like,
that's exactly
this is natural, like this is what happens.
So the end result of that conversation was me was going like, oh, like, so you're reading her and she's obviously distressed and you're trying to help her, and you lead to, yes, this is all good, and I'm feeling, and I guess the end, and it's like, you basically backed into this thing where, like, I think the exact line is, it says, like, in quotes, like, the option in quotes is, I want to make fuck with you. I think it's the exact line.
Yeah, that sounds.
And then I was like, there's that line, and then there's a line underneath it going, I'm not gonna fucking say that. And I clicked that, and it was like the empathetic part of my brain like overrode everything else. I'm like, no, of course you're gonna say that. It's gonna work. It'll be glorious. And you say it, and she just goes, the fuck, and walks away.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, considering where that story goes, I never felt like more of a fucking monster than I did at that part.
Yeah, especially with that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also the fact that it is. Which is a thing that like other games have done, where it is like you're high enough skill, you pick the thing. Yeah. But this game does it in the background, so you never see skill checks that you fail.
Yes.
So you only ever see the ones that pass. So it feels, the feeling I got off of it was a lot like a feeling at an actual tabletop role playing session.
Sure.
Where you're doing things on the fly based on what you think your character does, and the DM has to react to it.
Yeah.
In this game, that is you building that character in the way that you want.
Totally.
And then having that character react to the world.
It's very much like, rather than, it was the thing I like about like the Apocalypse World systems, where like all the DMs in those games are told, and basically all the versions of the rule sets I've said is like, ask your players what they are interested in this setting, as opposed to you writing a story and going like, here's the story we're doing.
Yeah.
Like the Sprawl, the Cyberpunk one that I was playing was like, what you ask the players, like, what are the parts of this kind of genre that you're interested in?
All the Apocalypse World systems do that.
And that's kind of what you're doing here, is like you're creating a character to be like, I want to see what a person who is like pure meat is going to react to in this remarkably complex world.
Oh, it's incredible, yeah. It's such an interesting idea that has really reframed how RPG skill systems and like talking to people should be done.
Do you remember this time? When did Tyranny come out? 2 years ago?
Tyranny was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Remember sitting having a conversation about how amazing the fact that it highlighted words that you could hover over to get lore about?
Yep.
This then evolves that system further to be like, you don't even highlight it anymore, because like, you know about this thing because you've got points in this thing, so that part of your brain will just say, by the way,
this is what this is.
God is this thing and does this stuff. And like, especially like the kind of the skill for like visual calculus, which is like, I can look at a situation and go, I think I know what happened.
Is,
like seeing that, like the way that talks, and
the fact that all the skills have their own like personality, they all talk in different ways.
But the way that talks, like, is a much better way of conveying that information, as opposed to your traditional options, which are a third character will then say, well, it looks like this car did X, Y, and Z, or it'll be like just a slab of text to be like, here's the... Like,
or even the most infuriating one, which was you can see that option in a skill check and you know you can't pick it, you don't have a skill that's
because
high
you're
enough.
like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And the thing that I really like, which is we sit and talk about the way that the brain interacts with you, but then it's not there for all the characters to be like, for empathy to fuck you up, or like whatever. It's like when it really gets down to it, the different facets of your brain help actual police work in different ways.
Totally.
Where it was like, it fascinated me because there's a scene in that game where you're really interrogating this one guy, that like really grilling him, and you're doing it in front of a group of his mates, and like my very intelligent character like came in instantly, visual calculus took over and was like, there are like 6 guys here, here's what they look like, and did all this information thing.
The union and the
bar?
In the bar? Yeah. Okay.
So he did all that and scanned the room and like figured out who it was.
Weird.
And then
I'll come
visual
back to
calculus, but then like I can't remember who it was, it might have been empathy or something like that, took over and saw one of the guys, and I was like, this guy looks shaky.
Yeah.
Like there's something off about him. So you start grilling this guy, and Rhetoric, who when you're dealing with like witnesses or your own head or something like that, is kind of just a cocky asshole.
Yeah.
And is like Rhetoric just really likes arguments and discussion and debate and all that sort of stuff.
It's the fucking alt-right part of your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, debate
but
me.
Suddenly, when you start doing police work, he switches on and becomes about, like, you need to deal with this line of questioning.
Yeah.
And is like, if you deal with this line of questioning, it's going to lead you down this way, which means he's going to react in this way.
So I get, as an empathetic character, I get the opposite.
Yeah.
Where I get to the part of a conversation and my empathy skill perks up and goes, you probably don't want to go down this road anymore.
So yeah, you get, I had enough empathy where I got that as well. So I got it from two sides, but then Rhetoric, the best situation I ever saw it in was you're grilling the guy and you're talking to him about some subject and you keep pressing him about it, and then Rhetoric takes over and says the guy out the corner of your eye that visual calculus saw that was a bit shaky suddenly goes, when you press this guy about it, this guy starts reacting weirdly. Yeah. Stop talking to him, start pressing this guy. Yeah. And your Rhetoric just takes over and you turn over and it flips over. It's genius.
It's so
such
smart.
A smart system, and it's all elegant and in the background. And you never really actively do anything, but it's all entirely based on the character that you want to build. Totally. Which is,
and it all great. Feels natural. Like, no part of it was like, oh, I see the seam of like, here's where this conversation would go if I didn't have
like the differences that we would have in conversation based on what we built would be. And there's one very specific situation that I would know would have gone entirely different if I had a different character, which I'll talk about later.
Sure. But yeah, that's a cool system.
Devil May Cry 5, the mechanic that I want to talk about is the fact that 3 characters have 3 different combat systems.
Oh, right, yes.
And
I forgot about that.
They're all really different and they're all amazing. It's staggering that these guys can make 3 different characters that vary in such high regard, but all feel great.
Yeah.
Where Nero is your base level, like, has a sword, has a gun.
Yep.
Really easy. But his robot hand has, like, different things it can do, where it can be like a shock or like a pull or like a boost or whatever, which is the character you start off with in the game. So the game really slowly introduces this idea of, like, hey, there's a lot more going on here than, like, you can just hit stuff with the sword or whatever, but see, if you start getting into what this character can do, you start being able to, like, jump in the air, pull a guy to you, boost across a room, do crazy combos and stuff like that. And as someone who's played all the Devil May Cry games, it really likes character action combos. Stuff like that. I saw that and went, fuck, that's brilliant.
Right.
Like, you can do so much with this. And then you play as V, who is a character who does not want to be involved in combat at all.
No.
If he gets hit twice, he dies.
Yep.
So he is at the back, and he summons his bird and his panther, and they do all the fighting for him. And it's on the same, it's like your bird is on your gun button, and the panther's on your sword button. But you are detached. So all the comboing is happening in front of you, but you're controlling this other character in the background, moving around, weaving in and out, trying not to get hit. Sometimes reading poetry, which is also a really cool thing.
Because he actually reads it out as he's doing. Like,
so if you hold right trigger, he charges his devil trigger just by reading his book, which is just poetry, and he says it aloud as you are doing combos with 2 different entities at 2 different ends of a room.
Yeah.
But still merging them in the middle to do all this stuff, like your bird can knock someone up, the panther can jump on, and then to kill something, V has to teleport to them and stab him with his cane.
Yeah.
So you have to put yourself in danger for a little bit, then get out, then reset. And then you get your devil trigger where you summon your big golem and everything just gets massacred. It's an amazing system, especially in a game that is all about fast-paced, you being involved combat. To have someone very detached is amazing.
Totally.
And then you get to Dante, and Dante is like, it's like both of it's not even like both of them. It's like every other Devil May Cry game on crack.
Yeah.
Where it is like you have a sword and you have a gun, but the gun can be 3 different guns and the sword can be 4 different swords.
Right, I forgot about this.
And Dante also has stances. He has 4 different stances that change what his character's signature ability does.
Yeah.
So it can either be like a dodge, or it can open up stuff to do with his sword, where like his signature thing of like spinning the scythe, the juggle thing, is only on the swordmaster thing.
Right.
And his signature thing of like flipping the shotgun around his head is only on the gunslinger thing.
Right.
And then he has a 4th one where his ability is just a parry.
Oh.
And suddenly my mind was entirely blown with that of like, fuck, he's got a parry now.
Right.
So you can suddenly do really risky shit, parry one move and have an opening and go back into it.
Yeah.
And like you can swap guns and swords mid combo, and everything all combos together perfectly.
Right.
So you can do a whole thing of like juggling someone up in the air with 2 different guns, swapping to Swordmaster, juggling them with the thing, swapping back, juggling them more, having them land, punching them with the thing, getting your fucking chain sword hands that are made out of your motorbike, doing a big spin, swapping back. It's incredible the amount of variance that you can get like that, and it never, I don't know if this never was a thing for me because I've played them all before, but it never felt overwhelming,
right?
Because the game spends a lot of time building and building and building from Nero to V to then very slowly introducing all the weapons with Dante and stuff. It's brilliant. It's such a smart thing.
Nice.
And then my friend Pedro is just awesome. Like the cool, it's kind of hokey and it's not perfect.
It is, and it's like it fully commits to the thing it's doing in a really dumb way.
Yeah.
And I really
where it just wants to make you look like a cool action hero jumping through windows
and
doing cool.
But I'll also say that, like, as a person who was not very good at that game, you look real dumb when you fuck it up.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's very easy for you to not.
But you, like, the idea of the, and it gives you slowdown where you can like time all this out, and you can like jump through a window, blow up a barrel that causes someone to become bits.
Yeah.
Mid-air kick someone's head into someone else, land on a skateboard.
The skateboard was the part where I went,
awesome.
Okay, game. Okay. Like kick it up and then kicking the skateboard into someone was very cool.
So good, like kicking it into someone while you're firing your guns behind you at someone else. And it was just this like amazing ballet that you could make if you were good enough. It was just a cool thing that I really liked. Okay. Mechanics.
So I think it's John McHex. I think that's such a cool solution to that problem.
I'm okay with that.
I think it's Disco Elysium.
Yep.
Because, like, hey, if there's a mechanic that revolutionizes a genre, probably is up there.
It was an entirely new way of thinking about it, and it was genius.
And I think it's Outer Wilds because there's stuff in there that I can't even talk about.
Yeah.
That is just like, you look at something, you're like, you're not actually doing the thing that it looks like you're doing, right? And then it 100% does it.
Yep.
So, is it Disco Elysium? I think it might be Disco Elysium.
I would think it would be Disco Elysium because it's something in a genre that I've spent a lot of my life playing, and that's done something that I've never seen before.
Fully.
And it's something that I looked at and instantly went, it's kind of like John McHex as well, where I saw it and went, why has no one done that before?
Yeah, totally.
It's such a smart idea. It reflects like your character build, it reflects it means that you're not seeing something and being like, oh fuck, I wish I could have done that. And it feels personal and it feels individual. We know it's because we're having different things together. And it's such a strong idea, especially in a game like that where there's no combat and it's all just mind talking narrative, where you can, it now proves that you can do a game like that without combat. Like it is, you don't need combat in a CRPG to be able to do something that CRPGs are good at.
For sure, yeah. The thing that surprises me about all three of these, actually, well, not so much John McHex actually, but like for Disco Elysium and Outer Wilds specifically, like the mechanics are not they're not there in an effort to make it easier a video game, to make it easier to build the game, right? Like Disco Elysium has to have so much dialogue.
Oh yeah,
and so much like
the mechanics and stuff behind Disco Elysium would not work as well if the writing wasn't as good as it was.
But it's not even quality of writing, it's like physical
and
amount
a lot of it,
and like how it all connects together. Like I'd love to see how their tooling works, of being like how you connect
with,
all
like
of
the
these
trees
different
and the
things.
pathways and stuff.
If you have this empathy, here's this thing, and this is this talks that.
Yeah.
And then Outer Wilds is another one, which is like, I don't know how that game is built. Like I genuinely can't comprehend that thing being what it is.
Yeah. In
a way that makes any sense, because it just breaks every single fucking rule out there.
Yeah.
Like it does remember, I mean, this was a number of years ago, but you remember when like Uncharted 2 came out and they made a big deal the train level, and like they made a big deal about the fact that like, no, all of that clambering and mantling stuff like works on any surface, and any surface can move and flip and fucking all that kind of stuff. Like that is like a Tuesday for Outer Wilds.
Yeah.
That is like, we are doing wild shit to these levels constantly.
Yeah.
And all of the internal rules still work. All of this, and like the amount of, the stuff is just crazy in there. I I do, as much as I think Outer Wilds is an incredible thing, I think Disco Elysium is a thing that you can look at and go like, more people, because you can't take anything from Outer Worlds and go, I'm going to take this and put it in my game.
Yeah.
Like Disco Elysium's the thing that's like, this is going to change a genre.
Yeah.
Like people are going to have
people should do what Disco Elysium
or
does.
not even just do it, like not be happy with the way it was before.
Yeah.
Like I think between this and stuff like Tyranny and all that kind of stuff, where you're like, this has so fundamentally changed the genre, which has generally either been non-existent or static for like 10 years.
This is the thing that you can draw a parallel a lot of the time between Disco Elysium and Planescape Torment.
I heard a lot of people say
they
that.
are incredibly similar games,
right?
When you look at it, even at a surface level,
right?
Like they're both about amnesiacs. They both have a ton of writing, like, but Planescape Torment has combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is...
It's still rolling dice in the background for combat. Like, that's the thing I think is the difference.
That's the thing that's there. But the thing that Planescape Torment did a really good job of introducing a world and explaining a world to the player, but also then having the rules changed, but doing it all basically through narrative.
Yeah.
Like, not combat. It's all basically you can get through 99% of Planescape Torment without combat.
Right.
You can just talk. And that's what that game in 1999 showed, that you can do this without combat. You can do it. And then everybody obviously, I still hold Planescape Torment in high regard, and everybody does. But nobody touched that idea forever. Everybody went back and went, oh, it's Baldur's Gate. Like, go build a party, fight stuff.
It always felt like with those games, everyone I came across, there was like two separate parts of the studio, right? There's the ones working on the D&D combat section, and then there's the narrative section, where you're like, they fit together and they play off each other, but it's still like, there's these two parts of the game. But like, the thing that makes me really excited about stuff like Disco Elysium, or Disco Elysium specifically, is that like, if I wanted a detective game or like some kind of like non-combat focused thing, like some adventures, like an explorer thing, like I could theoretically now get that in a CRPG.
Yeah, so
I can add stats to the adventure games
they have taken a game that proved that you could do a game without combat, even though it did have combat. You can entirely strip the combat out of it and still use a solid character building skill system and have it reflect in the narrative in such a positive way.
Totally.
That you could do all sorts of settings in this sort of idea, like, not just like post-revolution detective. You could be explorers, you could do cyberpunk, you could do a whole bunch of stuff in this. That it could mark like a sea change in this genre where people start splitting off and being like, we can do it. We don't need the combat. We can just go do this.
Which was always the weakest part of those games for me, and it's why I never did them. It's like, especially like when you add like fantasy on top of it, and you're like, I don't want to click on a goblin for a while. Give me more of the story. Like, give me more Mink. Like, give me that. Give
you more Minsk.
Sorry.
Well, that's like, if you play Planescape Torment, that's what that is.
That might be the thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Disco Elysium is our winner of best mechanics, I think, with Outer Wilds and John Wick Hex being a runner-up.
Happy with that.
Yeah, I'm glad this category's here, because
it was something that needed to happen.
It was missing from a lot of stuff.
We were missing it.
Cool. Looks good.
Yep. Next up, we have a negative category.
Yeah, the only negative category we have, I think.
Which is most disappointing. This can be disappointing for many reasons.
Yes.
So we have Anthem, Death Stranding, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, Wolfenstein Youngblood. Is it Youngblood?
Youngblood. Singular, I think. I'll check.
And Greedfall.
Right, I'd forgotten about Greedfall.
Yeah. So, quickly run through this. Anthem kind of talked about in Vegas News about why that's kind of disappointing. Mainly because it demoed really well, or not demoed really well, looked like it would be really cool, and then just had more and more layers of terrible put on top of it.
Yeah. It really was an echo of Destiny 1 for me, where it was just like, this all seems cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing the other variety they've got in here, and just like,
they never it was that, but it never had its like Taken King moment of like swinging back.
Like it never, and it's also weird in this category because neither of us played it.
Yeah, just
Like,
I was just disappointed that I didn't.
We played the beta and stuff like that, but it was like that's kind of it. Death Stranding. I assume you put that on there.
Yeah, because that game's really bad.
Is it bad?
Yes.
But is it disappointing?
I mean, it's a Hideo Kojima game. I was disappointed that he made it,
But
and it was bad.
After everything you'd seen about what that game was going to be, up to the point where it released, it's kind of everything it thought it was good. I'm not defending it. Like, it is in my top 5.
Oh, why?
But for very specific reasons. It's not a good game.
No, it's not.
But I also don't think it's particularly disappointing.
Okay, I can understand that because it didn't show very well either. But Rebel Galaxy, like, man, that was a bummer. Yeah,
it just kind of happened, and it was like, oh, it is just more of this.
It's so the Rebel Galaxy was, we loved Rebel Galaxy. Rebel Galaxy was fucking great. Loved broadsiding and spaceships. That was great. And then they said, we're gonna make a like space sim first person.
Hey, do you remember
Freelancer style game? And we went, fuck yeah, these are the guys to pull it off. They made Rebel Galaxy. This will be great. And they kind of did, but then it's a game entirely populated by doing the same stuff over and over again.
It was the problem.
With a story that's like paper thin.
It was the problem I had with Freelancer, but Freelancer was the first one to do that. Or like, this is cool, but then you realize eventually at some point where you're like, oh, it's more of this with a story.
It's just this.
But also, like, I really got into Freelancer modding. I like throwing a bunch of mods and like, here's new fucking ridiculous ships and here's all this kind of stuff. That Rebel Galaxy I like to have. Like, I have literally not booted it up since the first 5 hours I played it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like, yeah. Wolfenstein Youngblood, fuck me, that game is disappointing.
Yeah, that was sad.
That was like, I knew it wasn't, like, we already knew it wasn't going to be like a traditional Wolfenstein game, but like, even if I had a touch of Wolfenstein 2 in a co-op shooter, I was going to be happy with that. But instead what they had was this weird, like, pseudo open world procedurally generated mission, like, go do this.
It was like 3 maps that had
like 7.
Was it?
There's like the 3 towers and then like 6 areas or something like that.
They all just look the same.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they did. Is the other
where
part
you don't do anything very much different in each of the maps. There's like a character building system with like a skill tree stuff, which isn't terrible.
Yeah.
But then it's like it plays it off as like you can play this character however you want, but then stealth is useless. And
completely.
Like, there's no point in doing stealth whatsoever. And like all the guns have specific damage types that you need for specific armor types, and it ends up being really awkward, and things just respawn way too fast, so you feel like you're just slogging through everything. It was just really dull. Like, it ended up being really boring. And
we put more time into that than we probably shouldn't have, because we kept going like, okay, let's at least get to like the first tower, like the first thing, like core part of it. And it was like, yep, it's more of that.
It's just that with like no cool story in it or anything. Like, it was just dull.
It was super, and it didn't have any of the stuff that we liked about Wolfenstein.
No,
like the shooting was fine, but like it basically just didn't have any of the humor. It didn't have any of the like really cool storytelling.
Yeah,
it was just like, okay, and there actually wasn't a lot of story. Like, after the opening sections, there just basically wasn't any story.
Yeah, they barely told anything. Yeah, it's really sad.
Weird. And then Greedfall, which is the...
Yeah, that was a personal one.
Yeah.
Because Spiders, who are makers of fine B video games, which I enjoyed very much, like Mars Warlogs and the Technomancer. I've told you about the Technomancer, by the way.
Multiple times, yeah.
Man, that I kind of, there was a soft spot in my heart for those games of like...
Your favourite game that you cannot recommend to anyone.
I was like, man, they're really trying, and there's some really cool ideas in here, but fuck me, you can't play this, and the writing's awful, but that was kind of part of its charm. And then they made Greedfall, and I was like, cool, new Spiders RPG, let's go, I want to see what they do with this one. And like, it's like, fine.
Yeah.
Like, the combat's alright, it's not brilliant, but it's like, fine. And the writing's really predictable,
right,
and stale, and like you know exactly where it's going from the moment you land on that island, and it does all the things, and it doesn't do anything interesting.
It basically just wants to be.
It's a B movie that's gone beyond and is really trying to push its chops, and it has gone past what I actually wanted out of those games, was for it to be bad enough to where it was interesting, and it's now gone to where it's too good to be interesting. It's not good enough to be good, but it's not bad enough to be interesting.
Yeah.
And that was really sad for
Are
me.
we at the point where, because we almost did it last year, but are we at a point where we can now do Focus Home Interactive Game of the Year?
Potentially, yeah.
Because, like, Plague Tale was them as well this year.
Yep.
Asobo Studios, who are the guys that developed it, developers of Zoo Tycoon.
Oh wow,
that Xbox One game.
Jeez.
And I've worked on like a bunch of other like side stuff and a bunch of like.
I mean, potentially they're publishing like a lot of stuff.
But specifically, the developers for that game were like, I think they also did. I'm just checking this now. Yeah, they did Garfield 2 as well. Like they really stepped up their game this year.
But yeah, Greedfall was just disappointing because it wasn't the Spiders RPG that I wanted.
Like it wasn't bad enough.
I wanted the Technomancer, but in colonialism. That's what I wanted. But I didn't get that. I got some really generic middle of the road RPG that was kind of dull.
Should we add, and again this is kind of more of a personal one, but should we add Outer Worlds to this list? Because as far as I know, that is a very good one of those games.
Like, it wasn't really disappointing, it just sort of fell off. Like, it wasn't...
But that's what I mean, like, I was disappointed because I was finally like, I'm playing a fucking Fallout game. Like, I don't like these games. This is good. And then it just kept going.
I mean, yeah, like, I got to, like, towards the end of that game, and then it got really dull. I wouldn't say it was disappointing, because the stuff I did play of it, I enjoyed.
Sure.
So it's not... I don't think it's that disappointing. It just sort of, like, didn't hit the landing, which I think is the problem.
Yeah, I think so. I maintain that game is unplayable on a controller.
I never played it on a controller. I've got no idea.
Completely missed the point about how controller controls work.
Oh, good.
Like, it's just
excellent.
Like the sensitive. Anyway, it's most disappointing. I think it's Wolfenstein.
Yes, I'm with you.
I think it's Rebel Galaxy.
Yep. Can I have Greedfall?
I think you can have Greedfall.
You toss me that
because
one?
Anthem feels weird considering we didn't actually play it, and Death Stranding because I don't agree. Like, not that it's not a good game.
I know, no, disappointing is it's the wrong word to describe that game.
In fact, it's most surprising. Where
fucking dog shit is
that game is. That game is exactly what they said it was going to be, and I enjoyed it. Is the surprising thing.
Why? You're such a fucking sick puppy merchant.
Yeah, it happens.
Oh.
So it's Wolfenstein, right?
Yeah, it's Wolfenstein.
Yeah, Wolfenstein was horrendously disappointing. Like a game, like I got that game for free with a graphics card, and I was still disappointed.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
From a series that is awesome.
Yeah.
And just did not do it.
So yeah, Wolfenstein Youngblood is the most disappointing game of 2019, with Rebel Galaxy Outlaw and Greedfall as a follow-up. I'd forgotten about Wolfenstein. I'm glad you put it on that list. I'd completely forgotten about it.
I noticed that list was really sparse, and then I added Greedfall, and then I went, oh fuck, fucking Wolfenstein. Yeah.
The other game I got with my graphics card that wasn't Control, and I was like, oh, right, yeah.
Real heavy swings on that graphics card.
That. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, fuck.
Yep. Let's go back to the good ones.